Hello and welcome to Module 5, where we will show you how to properly write the 6 fundamental sections of your thesis, namely the introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion. We have put together a compact video for each of these 6 sections. But before we dive into the content, we want to share 4 general yet very important tips in this short intro video. First, we want to emphasize the importance and utility of role model papers. A role model paper is a scientific paper distinguished by its high quality in writing style, research methodology, and presentation of results. Consequently, these papers can serve as excellent examples and guides for your own bachelor or master thesis. Therefore, in the following videos, we will work extensively with such examples so you get a clear idea of how each section of your paper should ideally be structured. At this point, it's also important to note that you should approach past bachelor's or master theses which are available at your university with caution. Of course, these can also be well written and provide good guidance on what a great thesis could look like. However, we strongly recommend that if you're going to the effort of reading all theses, focus on those that are truly perfect, meaning publications that have been published in scientific journals. You now might think that publications in scientific journals are too complicated and that you will never understand them. But that's not the case. Publications in top journals are usually very clear and well written. You just have to dare to open a publication and read it. Second, it's crucial to realize that you should write and formulate the individual sections of your bachelor's or master thesis in a very specific order to be maximally efficient. To ensure you don't forget this important point, pause the video for a few seconds now and think about in what order you would write the 6 chapters shown on this slide, and why. The solution will follow directly on the next slide. As we discussed in Module 4 under the topic of the note-taking principle, you should continually jot down all your good ideas regardless of which section of your thesis they belong to. However, when it comes to the actual writing of each chapter, we recommend the following order. First, we suggest starting in the middle of your thesis with the methodology chapter. Second, move on to formulating the results chapter, followed by the literature review and the discussion. Lastly, write the introduction and the conclusion. You might be wondering why we recommend this specific order. After watching the 6 videos from this module, you will understand exactly why. The short answer is, you should only begin writing each chapter after you've completed your data collection and analysis. Only then will you truly know what the central message of your thesis is and what the most interesting results are that you will ultimately show and critically reflect upon. Imagine if you started with the introduction, literature review, or discussion and wrote these sections before having your results fully laid out. The risk that you would have to rewrite these parts because the results are not exactly as expected is simply too high. In addition to that, right after completing your data collection and analysis, you're most familiar with how you approach your methods and what results you obtained. Especially if you work with quantitative data and use programming tools like R or Python, waiting even 2 weeks can be devastatingly long and you might forget the specific details and order of your action steps. In other words, the longer you wait to write your methodology and results chapter, the harder it becomes for you. Third, it's essential to remember that the structure of a bachelor's or master thesis can fundamentally vary depending on the type of thesis you are writing. For instance, if you're writing a conceptual thesis, the theoretical part will naturally be longer and you might not have a traditional methodology chapter because you are not collecting primary data through interviews. On the other hand, if you're writing a classical thesis involving quantitative or qualitative data, it's crucial to include a methodology chapter and structure your work differently. Depending on whether you choose a qualitative or quantitative approach, this will also influence the different components of your thesis and the weight you should give them. This might seem frustrating at first, as there are indeed countless ways you could structure your thesis. However, there's good news. As mentioned in modules 1 and 3, you can circumvent this problem by finding a role model paper that has used a similar methodological approach to the one you'd like to use in your bachelor's or master thesis. This has a tremendous advantage of allowing you to orient yourself in all sections of your thesis according to a proven structural framework. As the fourth and final point, we would like to leave you with this important thought. Always consider your readers when writing your bachelor's or master thesis. Every day, thousands of pages of text and countless theses go unread because they don't address a clear readership. To ensure your thesis doesn't suffer the same fate, always think of your target audience, including your supervisor, when writing. It should absolutely be clear to them how they can benefit from reading your thesis. In other words, your thesis should either lower the cost for your readers or increase their benefits. If you achieve one of these goals or even both, you can be sure that your thesis will attract significant interest. For example, if you're writing about renewable energy sources like solar or wind power, the benefit for your readers could be demonstrating how and to what extent companies can reduce their energy costs with these sources in the long term. Similarly, your thesis could show how the implementation of sustainable energy sources can improve a company's brand perception and open up new customer segments. And now let's dive into the first content video, how to write a good introduction.